moderate risk of severe weather exists from about Johnson City, Tennessee, all the way towards the southern suburbs of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Today is the first moderate risk from many places in over 10 years in these areas, and there's going to be a significant severe weather outbreak today. So right now I'm in Berners Township, New Jersey, and the warm front has passed through. You can see that there is some clearing now of the skies, and this is going to help drive instability with a very, very moist air mass. In parts of Virginia, Maryland, Tennessee, and Kentucky, clearing has already occurred, and this is where the strongest instability will form. Hence, the greatest threat will also exist there. Thunderstorms have already started to form towards Tennessee and Kentucky, and the tornado watches are in effect already for those areas. Currently, you can see the warm front has only just passed through here in New Jersey, and this is going to limit the severe weather threat somewhat because this warm front is very slow moving. It had been raining here in the morning for a couple of hours, and this is going to reduce the instability because of this cloud cover and because the warm front is in very close proximity. So there won't be as much of the way as convection here until the later hours. So the synoptic scale setup is that there's a complex of low pressures over the Great Lakes, and the warm front attached to this, as I just stated, has passed through Jersey and is passing through northeast Pennsylvania right now. And the cold front associated with this isn't going to be what's triggering the thunderstorms mainly, but what is going to be triggering it is a very, very strong 300 millibar jet. For August, a 60 knot 300 millibar jet is absolutely unheard of in these areas. Currently, there's a 60 knot 300 millibar jet exiting through Tennessee and then diving up towards regions of the mid-Atlantic. These winds will only continue to strengthen throughout the day, and the lower level jets will also be very strong, such as the 500 millibar jet is anywhere from 40 to 65 knots across the mid-Atlantic, and the 850 millibar jet, the low level jet, will strengthen into the overnight. Will strengthen into the evening, actually. And the main threat today is going to be damaging winds with a quasi-linear convective system expected to develop from about southern Pennsylvania down through Tennessee, or not really Tennessee, down through the Carolinas. Currently in Tennessee and Kentucky, the storms, the clusters that are the precursors to this are forming, and the main question today is how widespread can this quasi-linear convective system become? How connected or how organized can it become? Will there just be sections of Boeing segments, or will it be one long line of thunderstorms? This is going to be very important for areas further north into central Pennsylvania through New Jersey, because if the storms just form to the south, then there won't be much in the way of storms in our area. The initial development should be supercells across central Pennsylvania down through western Virginia and even Tennessee, where there are some rotating clusters currently, and these will have some tornado threat with them, but the main tornado threat will be during the quasi-linear convective system once it is formed, because the low-level jet will be most strong during that time. And today is mainly a wind threat, but the wind threat is really high. There's a significant threat of damaging winds, significant severe gusts, and there's a 45% chance. Hence, we have the 45% and the significant, making it a moderate risk. Today could go down in history because, again, it's the first moderate risk there's been in many of these areas in the past 10 years. And this setup in August, early August, is absolutely unheard of. So today is going to be a day to stay weather aware across the mid-Atlantic. And yeah, I'm going to break it down on the models right after this.
So this is the Storm Prediction Center's website, and clearly there's a moderate risk, and what they're saying, which is very significant, is that widespread damaging winds, locally destructive. So that is the main threat today, the damaging winds. So we look at the wind threat. It is 45% over a large area, all the way from eastern Pennsylvania down through Georgia, and the significant risk area is from Tennessee up through extreme southern Pennsylvania. So that is the area that's most likely to see that QLCS that I was talking about. And as we go to the coast, the risk reduces because the timing will be unfavorable. It'll get there after nightfall, and then there'll be more stability. And the tornado risk is existent from Kentucky through, again, extreme southern Pennsylvania, because as the QLCS is moving through, the low-level jet will help enhance rotation within that line. Besides this, there's also just like a slight risk in the high plains. All right, so let's look at the temperatures. So it is widespread upper 70s and 80s, all the way from New Jersey down through North Carolina. And in the areas that had the most clearing, we are getting to the 90s, like close to the 90s. Actually, yeah, 90 in some areas. And we look at the dew points. Dew points are widespread in the 70s, um, mid 70s in some areas, especially in the Delmarva area. And the winds are going to generally be out of the south or southwest. So for in central Pennsylvania and New Jersey, the winds could be more out of the south or southeast, which is going to enhance the tornado potential. But again, the storm coverage is not expected to be the most over there. That's why the main tornado potential is from Maryland down through Kentucky. And now we look at the satellite. So we can see there is clearing all across the mid-Atlantic. The warm front has just passed through New Jersey, but there is still some cloudiness existent over eastern Pennsylvania. And our basically all of our moderate risk zone is cloud-free currently. And we can see the storms have already fired from the West Virginia, Ohio border into Kentucky, into Tennessee. These storms are going to continue to fire, more are going to initiate, and then that's going to help form our line. And yeah, we can see that the stage is set today for a significant severe weather outbreak. We can see already the clearing is underway. And we look at the amount of instability there already. It ranges from around 1,000 in eastern Pennsylvania, joules per kilogram, to 3,000 joules per kilogram in parts of West Virginia and Tennessee. And this is only going to increase as we go to about 6 hours, around 6 p.m. today. 5 or 6, we can see 3,000 joules per kilogram widespread across the mid-Atlantic. And we can see this is the line that I was talking about. This is that line that was forming over. That's the line I was talking about. Look at the effective shear. The effective shear values are going to be over 40 knots in these areas. And if we look at the 150 millibar winds, you can see here's our low-level jet, 40 knots over western Tennessee. And we can see this is going to expand over from all the way from central Pennsylvania down through the southern Appalachians. We're going to have this low-level jet expanding. And this is the 300 millibar jet I was talking about. This 80 knots over north central Tennessee. This is our jet, 300 millibar jet. This is the trough that is causing that all of these storms to fire. Now let's move on to the models. So we look at the RAP model. This is for 2 p.m. Eastern. These are our 300 millibar winds. They overspread all across the zone from central Pennsylvania down through the southern Appalachians, 60 knots widespread. 500 millibar winds are 40, 30, 40 to around 60 knots. Again, this is really strong for August. Maybe in like April this will be more normal, but this is like ridiculous for August. And again, look at our 700 millibar winds, 55, 50, 60 knots. And those 700 millibar winds being so strong, that's what's going to kind of drive the storm mode of the QLCS, because the shear is kind of concentrated in the lower level. After 3 kilometers, the winds are pretty much uniform. That's why we have this QLCS mode. 850 millibar winds, again, the jet is going to expand. So let's look at that on the HRRR model. This is for 2 p.m. Eastern. We can see clusters of storms from Tennessee through West Virginia, even some starting to fire off the Blue Ridge over there. And let's look at the first, I'm loading a little bit slow. All right, so let's look at the instability. Mixed layer instability, we can see clearly across the moderate risk area, it is on the order of 1,500 to 2,000. With northward extent, it reduces. And now let's look at where we would expect to see the severe weather. So let's move on to, let's say, 4 p.m. Eastern. Let's look at what's starting to congeal. So we have the HRRR is telling us that we're going to have broken-ish QLCS from about West Virginia down through western North Carolina, and we're going to have scattered storms across central Pennsylvania. So what are these scattered storms? What is the storm mode of this? This could be supercells across central Pennsylvania, because in central Pennsylvania, the environment will be more supportive of supercells initially. Well, there will be supercells initially across central Pennsylvania down through even Virginia, this area, but the upscale growth will be very rapid across from Maryland south. So central Pennsylvania probably has the best shot at having a supercell tornado. So let's look at the environment. The surface to 1 kilometer here is really not the best, but as we move on in time, we can see there we go, 16 knots. This is still marginal, but still it's pretty good for a supercell tornado, mini supercell type setup. Some weak rotations within that. You can see our storm slinky is curved. What's really going to be limiting the instability today is lapse rates. Lapse rates are not the best, but nonetheless, the strong moisture will help to generate instability. Now let's look down here. Look at this in Maryland. We have a supercell ahead of the line. Let's look at the environment that this is heading. Similar environment as Pennsylvania. But let's move further south, say, into Virginia, and look at this line. So ample instability. We have ample SRH2. Winds are uniform, basically above 3 kilometers, 30 to 40 knots. This is going to drive that linear mode of convection. And then let's look at what happens as we approach nightfall. So very strong line of storms. DC towards Baltimore would probably be in the spot for the highest damaging wind potential. That's my thinking. Anywhere from like Baltimore towards DC, even Delmarva into maybe Northern Virginia, that's going to be the target area where the worst winds are going to be, from around here, probably up here. So this area. And how far east this expands depends on two factors. Actually three factors. First one is how fast this line is moving, or how far east it gets, basically. Second is how far out does that warm front get that was draped across New Jersey? Where does it like leave, or is it kind of like hanging around? Third is how much instability can form, because these storms are going to be approaching towards 8 p.m., approaching the Delaware, like eastern Delaware and New Jersey towards 8 p.m. after, it seems. And the instability will start to weaken because of this. But besides that, if they can get here, the tornado potential will be here. If they can get here on time, the tornado potential will be there, as we can see from the sounding. But if they come later, they may become more outflow dominant with surface inversions and capping, and the storms will not be as strong. So if we just look at the updraft helicity to show basically how strong these storms were, just to give an idea of how strong the storms were. Let's look over here. So again, that's exactly what I was saying. From Baltimore down towards Northern Virginia, I think that's going to be the bullseye of just like severe weather. There's going to be very strong winds. And for tornado potential, the two areas are one, Tennessee and Kentucky, these areas, because right now the storm mode is mainly cluster and potentially some isolated storms in a very great environment. If we look at the environment that they're in right now, it's a pretty good environment for storms. Exactly, look at that. Strong instability, strong wind fields. And the second area that I would say target for tornadoes, besides that, again, Maryland and Virginia area, I would say is central Pennsylvania, if we can get that kind of more discrete storm mode and enough instability can form. And the severe potential exists down even into Georgia, but again, that depends on how long and like organized this QLCS gets. If it can get organized, if you can get its act together and we'll have like a broken QLCS, then it'll be a widespread damaging wind event. And but the biggest question mark I would say today is, does this QLCS's northern terminus be in southern Pennsylvania, or does it extend up through northern Pennsylvania, and does it have a continuous QLCS? That is something we're going to have to watch, and it could make or break the severe potential for areas in eastern Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Stay safe today, guys. This is a significant severe weather event. We can see there's already a tornado warning on the West Virginia Ohio border, and today might go down in history. So guys, stay safe today. Thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something new.